a design or a kind of product was getting launched in US or Europe, it used to take 4 years for that to come to India. Now I think, and we are one of the few brands which are there in 22 countries. So we are in Europe, US, Canada, we are Middle East.
But when you thought about starting the Campus Sutra, like how did you identify this niche that I want to build for Indian students, an Indian brand? वो thought क्या गया?
So for you, it is very natural to become an entrepreneur, right? Yeah. You've already been like a child entrepreneur.
So I come from a very, very small village. The population of that village even today is around 2000.
Wow.
Right. So, and I still remember I was the first person there who could speak English. So, they used to present me like this specimen ki dekho is like ko hum deji aa rahe.
And where is this village?
This is in Bihar.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and yeah, obviously had a very interesting childhood in terms of, somebody tried to kidnap me when I was about 7 years old. And then there was some shooting incident on my dad where, people shot at him and stuff. Who literally had to leave that place and come to Bangalore in the early 90s. And I owe it big time to Bangalore. I say that, whatever I have today, I think Bangalore has a very, very big role to play in that. And that's how I became a Bangalore boy. Always wanted to be in business. That was my Ikigai from a very, very early time. In that same village, I still remember during Diwali, people used to burst crackers. वो मिलता नहीं था. So, we used to get it from Calcutta. There were two insights which made us start Campus Sutra. The first insight was, and this is around 2013-14, Alibaba used to do Singles Day. Even now they do Singles Day, right? Which is their equivalent of Big Billion Day in China. And that year, Alibaba had done $1 billion in one day, right? And at that point of time, the entire e-commerce industry in India was about $1 billion for the whole year.
Yeah.
Right. So it was very clear to us that this industry is going to explode. If China with similar population is doing $1 billion, if one company in China is doing $1 billion in a day, there is no way that India is going to remain that small, right? So our first insight was that e-commerce is going to explode and we need to get into that. And the second insight was that if you look at how fashion was being driven, then and even now you can say, is that it is being aimed from the West. So if you walk into any college in India, right, you'd find people wearing Bob Marley or you find people wearing Northwestern University and stuff like that, right? Which is not what represents a person in India.
Sure.
It is not his language. It is not what he identifies with. But because the fashion is being imported from the West, he used to wear that. So I think the second insight that we had was that if we are able to create products which are meant for the people in colleges in India, there would be a natural affinity towards those products.
When you thought about starting the Campus Sutra, like how did you identify this niche that I want to build for Indian students, an Indian brand? वो thought क्या गया?
So Walmart Pay, we used to have this campaign like back to college.
Okay.
Personally. So if you look at the Western markets, this entire college and back to campus is very, very big. Any established retailer in the West, like a Walmart, would do like $30-40 billion of business just on that campaign, back to campus. It's like a very, very big thing. In India, you had a lot of brands which target youth or which are talking about adventure, which are talking about something else. They want to be a brand for the youth. But nobody had spoken about campuses or college students per se. Nobody was calling out and saying that, I am your brand if you are in college, right? So we thought that was a very interesting space to be in. And we have been able to create that connect. So initially when we started, when we built Campus Sutra, we used to do a lot of products which used to just give an avenue for people to express themselves. So we had, I still remember we had this t-shirt called Lawsome, right? I think we sold some 70,000-80,000 t-shirts of those, right? Because every lawyer who was kind of studying to be a lawyer, he thought it was very cool where you are able to say that, कि मैं lawyer हूँ, right? So that's how it started. And over a period of time, we have realized that, so that's one aspect where you create designs which talk about a person, but then you also create products which are to the trend, right? Which many legacy brands are not able to. So we create designs and styles which are very, very edgy, which appeal to the college kids or the people who are just out of college. And that's where I think we are positioned ourselves.
But does it also mean having a wide price point where you can sell a t-shirt for, let's say, 500 rupees and a jacket for 5,000? Is that what you mean?
not 5 rupees.
I said 500.
Yeah. So I think the way we would say this is that you can sell a jacket for, say, even $500.
Right.
But there are jackets which a legacy brand would sell for maybe 5,000, right? Can you get that jacket for 2,000? Or can you get a better looking jacket for 2,000? So, the product has to be benchmarked with the best in the industry.
Best in class.
Right? The best that you can get, but at a value pricing. Here, so we don't want to be defining our brand in terms of 499, 399, 299. That's for some other players to do, right? We want to be a brand जिसको देख के लोगों को लगे कि यार मैं, if I have bought a 500 rupee shirt or a 1,000 rupee shirt, the person should feel that, it feels like a 2,000 rupee shirt. But that's the position.
You tweaked your manufacturing process and you made it more efficient. Now, usually the conventional mindset is if you're building a fashion brand, if you want to sell online, everyone is focused on these KPIs, like what is the repeat rate, what is the average order value, or whatever, what is a CAC, what is the LTV. You never thought about those things. You had different KPIs.
Correct.
So how did that happen? Like what went into that?
So we realized very early on कि यदि 20 crore का business बनाना है, then you need to do all those KPIs that you're talking about, right? And we have seen this with a lot of businesses. So there is a industry defined KPI, which is mainly driven by what investors want.
Right.
So
VC KPI.
VC KPIs, right? So यदि कोई भी यदि आज फैशन बिजनेस में इन्वेस्टर के पास जाता है तो ये बताए
Average order value क्या है?
रेट क्या है, एवरेज
Exactly.
all of that, right? Which can take you to a certain level. We realized कि यदि Zara कैसे बना? Zara bana because they innovated on the back end.
Yeah.
Right? Used to be at one point of time was doing very well. They had done a lot of innovations at the back end. So any big company which has been made world over ever
You are also better, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
has been able to do that by innovating at the back end. So we realized कि unless we build that back end, वो front end में कितना भी कुछ कर ले रहा है, the differentiation would be only maybe 10-20% here than that. So that's why our focus was on building the back end, the supply chain. A lot of people, claim to be fast fashion, right? But if you go to their website or if you go to their store, right, and you see how many products have changed in 1 month, you will see that, there's hardly any change. Because they're not built a backend for it. So while in marketing and in positioning, you can talk about fast fashion. But because you don't have a backend, you're not delivering on fast fashion. So we realized this very early. If fast fashion हमें करना है, तो our backend should be able to churn those many designs, get those product to the consumer fast and all of that. Unless until you do that, it remains a marketing image, which is what we see in the industry. A lot of people talk about fast fashion, super fast fashion. We are sustainable, we are bad, right? But very honestly, they don't understand the backend. They don't have the backend. They don't have the supply chain which can deliver on those promises.
For a lot of, doesn't piss you off?
Not
a lot of people raise capital and talk about marketing and brand and a lot of these Vixie front end stuff. This, like we talk about CAC and retention and all.
And also packaging, website.
You've done the danda the hard way, and this is not a new danda. This has been going on for years and centuries, but you've figured out how to crack this, and then you have all of these uber-funded companies coming in saying that, oh, we don't need to see in fashion.
Not really. Everybody has their own journey, right? So who am I to pass a judgment on that? But I always tell my team that, running a bootstrap large fashion business is like dating the hottest girl in college and getting her to pay for dinner. Every day. 1,000 days a month. 1,000 decides a month. So that's a difficult task. It's a challenge for the team to kind of, it requires you to be the best at what you are day in, day out, right? Business at an overall level is always, the way I see it, it's a fight between the P&L and the balance sheet. Right? Your profit and loss account in terms of how fast you want to grow. And then you have the balance sheet, which is, which can support it not.
Yeah.
So what happens with, especially with funded startup, because the balance sheet constraint is taken away.
It's strong.
You end up doing a lot of things which in the long
You're not
necessary for
Yeah, sure.
Right. So it in a way hollows down your business. So why you create a 500 crore brand, the founders are only left with 10% stake.
Sure.
Right. Then the other problems start in terms of, whether you are able to kind of, whether you have that motivation to run that day in, day out, whether you have a couple of bad cycles and it's the investment climate is not very conducive, whether do you survive or not, right? So, while there are a lot of challenges of running a bootstrap company, it makes you stay very true to what your business is.
Traditionally, this is how businesses were built. Like balance sheet supported P&L. If your balance sheet could have a 10 crore PNL, you only do 10 crore sales, right? But that usually hinders growth, because that, like, if you're only dependent upon your balance sheet, it's difficult to grow 2x every year. How did you solve that problem?
So what I've realized is that say 20 years back or even 10 years back, capital was a constraint in India. Now that is no longer a constraint. If you are running a healthy balance sheet and P&L, there are a lot of avenues to raise. Right? So we have raised debt from the bank. We have a trade rated balance sheet. Right? So we have DNB and a lot of these guys that we have got then to run those numbers on our balance sheet, and we have it foolproof, right? So we are able to get debt from the bank. We're able to get other means of whatever fund. So fund is no longer a constraint. So if you're running a strong business, while a lot of people think that fund, it might be a constraint in some businesses like a tech business or maybe a business like Flipkart, where you are creating a platform and it requires you to invest a lot of money for it.
Right.
But otherwise, capital is no longer a constraint. Whether you're growing at 50%, 100%, if you're doing it well, then you will get the money. It's not that difficult in current day and time, that your growth will be stalled because of capital.
So, Dhiraj, which year did you guys decide to go international, and what is the thought process behind going international?
So we went international 4 years back. One of my co-founder Aditya, he was in Dubai, where Amazon had called him for to talk to the team there and things like that, right? To talk to the entire ecosystem. And the feeling that we got is that in some of these markets are 5 years behind India, right? So Dubai maybe in 2019-20 was where India was in 2014, as in there was no ecosystem, e-commerce was taking shape, but there was no brand ecosystem and things like that. So we thought of it as an opportunity that whatever we have done in India, there's an opportunity of replicating that in a Dubai market or a Saudi market, and we did that, and we got very, very good result. So what happens in India whenever somebody is talking about going international, it is about going and attacking the NRI. Right, so you have a lot of these ethnic brands who say that I'm international, but it's not like they're going and selling it to the locals. They are selling to the Indian who is staying there. So we realized very early on that if you have the right proposition, the average Joe in these markets will buy your product. We tasted success in Middle East. Then we went to US, Canada, where we opened offices there, and we tried to replicate whatever we are doing here, and we got success there. Then we went to Europe, where we are there in almost the whole of Europe. And again, we did the same thing. While every market has different set of learnings, the basic proposition remains the same. That if you're able to understand what that market needs and you're able to create that product and give it at the right value, there's a market to be made. And that has really worked for us.
Interesting. And your TG remains, your target group remains exactly the same across all these markets, but then there are obviously the cultural nuances or other things.
And different price points.
So we are a brand for 18 to 35 year age group. Sure. We are a brand which is mass premium. We are a brand who's hitting the middle segment. We are a brand in Indian context, for example, somebody who's staying in a nuclear family, who's looking for convenience, who's looking for latest design, right? So there are certain traits that has been kind of ingrained in our company's DNA. So wherever we go or whatever we do, whether it is with category expansion or it is with the brand expansion or it is with geographical expansion.
When is Campus Sutra going to buy our money?
Okay. Very honestly, somebody like an ASOS, the market cap of ASOS is only 250 billion. Very honestly.
Wow,
right?
that's it.
As of now, with whatever is happening in that continent and what is happening with that company. And ASOS is such a great brand.
Calm brand.
Right. Very honestly, if I had money, I would go and acquire ASOS today. Right. So there are these opportunities where you have a lot of great brands, great platforms that have been built
For overpriced.
but they're struggling. So if anybody puts a serious thought in terms of acquiring some of these assets and kind of, I think it's a great opportunity.
But then why aren't these big Indian conglomerates going and acquiring Europe, like Tata's and Ambani?
But I think it's a thing about mindset, right? In India, because the market is growing very fast, right?
Right.
Many times we tend to kind of be inward looking and we are busy kind of, we're busy kind of, maximizing the opportunity in India. We don't look outside. But I think a time will come where, because we don't have a lot of the stigma or issues that a Chinese brand have. So while a lot of companies in China are very good at manufacturing, right? They have 2-3 very big constraints. One, they don't understand the language. Right? So if anyone in China is running a big factory, उसको नहीं समझ में आता है, right? Second, the culture is very, very different because we are English speaking, and most of us, right, at least in the metro, we have grown up looking at those series and movies and all of that.
Right.
We are able to understand the nuances of a European market or American market much better than a Chinese. Right? What India is lacking is only production. So if we get the manufacturing story right, if we are able to create that manufacturing base, I think you will see a lot of brands coming from India. That's the next wave of growth that I think you'll see in Indian brand. People are not doing it now, but 10 years down the line, I won't be surprised if you have 25 good brands that are created from India serving the world.
Awesome. Well, this was extremely insightful, and we are much appreciative of you spending time with us. And I think a lot of our followers would have gotten a lot of deep insights from you. We would love to thank our location partners we have, who have wonderful locations all across Bangalore and now in Bombay as well. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.